Welcome back. So today I wanted to talk about why it is so difficult for a lot of people to get started and why that initial step to starting on any sort of fitness journey is so difficult and why it tends to get difficult the older you get, the more unfit you get, and the further away you get from a point where you were more mobile. So, what tends to happen with fitness and exercise is that the better you are at it, the more you can actually enjoy it. And so when you're really unfit, when you really struggle with your fitness, even spending 15 minutes doing some sort of high intensity activity is enough to make you feel horrible. It can make you get to the point where you're throwing up. It can make you feel lightheaded. It can make you pass out. It has all sorts of features that are really not very pleasant. And whilst we need to push ourselves in order to get fitter and to get better when we are working out, the amount that you can actually do when you're first starting can be really a lot smaller than people wish it was. And they look at a whole lot of other people that may be quite capable and they think, well, surely I can just go out for a half an hour run or a 5K run or whatever it may be. But even that is too much. And even that is enough to cause them really horrible kind of side effects as a result of doing it. So when it comes to that starting point with your fitness, the idea is that you need to really push past and really be able to look so far down the line. And a lot of people really struggle with this because in order to enjoy exercise, so if I go out now, being lucky enough to be quite fit these days, if I go out for a big hike or I go out for a run or I go out for a cycle, it hurts. My muscles hurt. There's a lot of pain involved with heavy breathing, all that sort of stuff. But at the same time, I can enjoy it because I get a whole lot of endorphins from it. And that whilst I'm pushing and feeling those kind of side effects, they're not enough that they make me feel like I'm going to pass out or throw up every single time. And when you are first starting out, the amount and the volume of exercise that you can do is often not enough to even get any sort of endorphin release. And so you basically do a workout, you feel like shit, and you don't get any endorphins, and you just get all the bad side effects. And people say, well, why am I even doing this? I'll never sort of enjoy it. But then they stop doing it and they get more unfit, and it becomes basically a vicious cycle because the more unfit you are, the harder it is to get back into it. And so what we need to really do is just understand that this exists first and foremost, because a lot of people kind of feel like maybe they'll never get those feel good hormones, but they just need to stick at it. They need to stick at it for at least a few months sometimes to get to the point where they've got enough capacity and fitness in them that they can start to feel like a workout's still really difficult and they're still exhausted after it, but they start feeling better and they start to feel those good effects from it. And so, what this also means is that you want to, when you're someone who hasn't exercised for a really long time, you haven't been involved in fitness for a really long time, and you're starting out, often you need to start out a lot lighter and a lot less intense than you may think. And whilst you can ramp it up quite rapidly once you really start getting those adaptations within your body, like I see this a lot of people who start by running and they haven't run for a decade, and then they start smashing out some program that's trying to get them to run a half marathon or something. And some people can get away with it. Some people can actually do that. But for most people, it tends to just give them injuries. It tends to make them feel horrible. And then they completely undo all of their work after a few weeks anyway. Whereas someone who's never run in their life or never exercised at that sort of intensity, it's often a good idea to simply start by walking up hills, and upping the intensity of the pace and all that sort of stuff before. And you might even do that for a month, 2 months, 3 months, depending on the person, before you even think about adding some running. When we look at weight training, for someone who's really unfit and really struggling, a lot of it's going to be just body weight stuff to get them to the point where they're able to do those movements quite well, and then we can start adding weight and start adding intensity. So everyone's different. Everyone starts at a different level. And we really want to get that intensity as soon as we can. We want to really push you, but you only really need to be pushed a little bit outside your comfort zone each time, and then gradually build upon it as the weeks go on. You don't need to start and get to the finish line straight away. By having the patience and by having the understanding that once you stick at it for a few months, once you stick at it for a long enough period of time, you will start to get so many more of the positives and far less of the negatives that can come along with doing a workout and so on. So if you're someone who has this situation happen, I'd be interested to hear your experience, your understanding of how it's worked for you, and if you have overcome it, I'd love to hear that too. So I will see you in the next video.